Well, he's one of the best comedians in Canada. He's the voice of every camping trip I've taken for the past decade. And I can also speak from experience. He's one of the nicest people in showbiz you'll ever meet. Steve Patterson is perhaps best known for hosting CBC's The Debaters. He's also won Best Male Stand-Up multiple times at the Canadian Comedy Awards. He's bringing his latest show back to Regina. And right now, here's the most famous Canadian to ever wear a paddy cap.
Steve Patterson.
Good afternoon, Steve, but you're wearing the Blue Jays hat today.
I am. I'm sorry. It's spring has sprung, so I switched. But I really appreciate that shout out. I should have worn my patty cap. You're right.
Steve, my first question is actually an honest one. Do you love puns, or is someone making you do this for the past 17 years?
It's part of community service originally, but I've really grown into it. I wasn't sure that I wanted to keep going with the puns when we first started, but I've since learned that it's a real art form to make them as cringeworthy as possible, and the cringier the better, really, for the puns. So now it's a source of pride. I really do take energy and pride from the audience when they're groaning that it's so bad it's good. Shout out to John Cougar Mellencamp.
Yeah, I do love when they groan and you say, you obviously haven't listened to the show much because it's only going to get worse.
That's right. You got to lean into it.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about the craft of your comedy. Obviously, you're bringing your latest show, Patter Dad, to Regina. Just how exactly has your perspective on stand-up changed now that you are a dad?
Well, I think that I'm on a new quest, to be honest with you, because anytime you hear the term dad jokes, it's sort of in a derogatory way. It's, oh God, another dad joke. But there are lots of funny dads out there, and just because I've become a dad to two daughters doesn't mean that I'm not still, the best comedian that I can be. So I'm out there to prove that not all dad jokes are bad jokes, and you know, I try to craft them from as much honesty as possible, which I always have. And I think that people identify with the stories when they're family related. And I'm just here to prove that, I want the comedy to be something that my daughters can kind of look at and not roll their eyes at. So that's my new goal for comedy now.
Yeah, when did dad jokes become supposedly lame? Because my dad always still does tell the best jokes.
Yeah,
And
I don't know. And I mean, I think some dads really do take a point of pride with telling terrible jokes, and there's no doubt about that. But sorry, my dog just heard that I was telling jokes, and he's excited to be involved in the interview now. Okay, Ferris. But I think that it's just it's funny, but it's funny to me that dads, that are very intelligent and apt in lots of different areas. Some of them just they can't do the jokes, and this is the one area that I think, there's so many things I don't know how to do, but hopefully writing jokes isn't one of them. That's what I'm out to prove here.
I see what I can only assume is some of your kids' artwork behind you. How old are your kids now?
No, that's all mine. Those are all things that I've drawn recently.
Nice. Okay. Very
my
beautiful
old,
stuff.
Thanks, thank you. My oldest daughter Scarlett is 9, and my youngest Nora is 4. And they're already. I mean, that is better than I can do artistically, to be honest with you. So that's they've inherited a lot of things that I never did have, which is real artistic genes. And my daughter's a really good swimmer, and I could still lucky to get across the pool once. So I'm happy that they're better versions of me than I am.
Yeah, what have the past 4 years been like? So you become the dad of two daughters, and also the pandemic hits, of course. What have the past few years been like?
Oh, so much quality time. I think that all parents can identify with uh, unlimited time and unlimited consecutive meals together. Really, really get you to know each other, and it's my family's very ready for me to be out on the road touring again. Put it that way. So I love them. They give me endless sources of material, but I learned that away time is important too. And I didn't want to call the show that. but I am focused on getting out there and giving my family a break from me while talking about them. So it's a nice combo.
How do you create a show, an album like Patter Dad, or, just a much longer piece of material? Is it, making notes on napkins over the years and piecing it together? Do you sit down and craft a full, story like an essay?
That's a great question. I don't write it. What I find when I write things down, I'm too stuck in my head trying to say every word. So I record. I do voice memos and record and listen back to them myself, and try to perform obviously as much as possible and get the ins and outs of it. But I always found when I was writing the jokes down that I would be stuck kind of trying to read it in my mind. So for me, audio recording is more important than writing the jokes down. So that's what I do. Although I love writing and I have lots of comedy letters and things, but comedy letters I started writing because I would get lost and forget to deliver the punchline of my jokes sometimes. So writing is important too, but for my stand up, I want it to sound conversational. So I record versus writing. Saves paper too. Am I single handedly saving the planet? I don't know.
Maybe
That's
a
maybe
little bit.
that's my words, not yours.
How much does the location, the audience, shape a story? Like, obviously, you come in, yeah, with material, and you take great pride in that. But how much does the location influence how much that changes night to night?
I love to be in the moment. I love to never do the exact same show twice, and that means doing research, on where you're going, and hopefully now that I've been across the country two or three times back and forth, it lets you have stories for where you're going to be, and I learned that from one of my favorite Canadian stand-ups coming up was Derek Edwards, and I watched him do different sets in different places and really customize the show. So I always wanted to do that. And Regina has a special place in our hearts because we were there. I was there to perform stand up during the Grey Cup in 2009 that you might recall. A few of your listeners might recall the Riders won. And
2007.
what's that?
2007.
Was it 2000? Wait a minute. I'm trying to do the math here. Wasn't it 2000?
Oh, 2013. 2013.
2013.
There you go.
2013. I'm sorry. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
God, went back too far there in my mind. Anyway, I was at that big one. I was there to perform, and we got so happy that let's put it this way: our oldest daughter was born 9 months later, so we can't be alone in that. So I'll talk about that out in Regina for sure.
I love that special connection, but I did want to also ask you: is Regina a challenging crowd for comedy? And I'm saying that not as a bad challenging, but I was at the Debaters Christmas show, and you had some fun with the crowd. I feel like sometimes we were laughing at jokes you didn't expect. Other times they'd fall maybe a bit flat. Like, what is the Regina crowd like that you remember?
Oh, I love it. I love being out there. I mean, it's a proper showroom too, the casino. People
Yeah.
come there for the show, and they're usually in a good mood when they arrive. And our job is just to keep that good mood going. So, yeah, I never assume that a crowd's going to react a certain way, and it was particularly fun that evening. It's always amazing to me how sometimes crowds laugh on the way to a joke, and then you get to the joke, and then they've already spent their laughter or
Right.
something. So I appreciate that relationship, and not just being the same show every time. And I really do love the showroom at the casino and I've gotten to know the people that work there, over the years, and it makes a difference. It makes you want to put on a good show when you're welcomed there by the staff and the venue.
Well, I know it's going to be a great show. Steve, thanks for this.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate it. Can't wait to see everybody out there.